Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. What I'd love to do today on this spectacular Sydney spring morning is to talk about a book, and the book that I've selected for today's episode is entitled When Our Grown Kids Disappoint Us. This book was published on the 3rd of June 2004 by an author who goes by the name of Jane Addams. So let's see what Jane has to say about this interesting discussion and topic, and see what we can learn, what we can glean, and what we can incorporate into our inventory of skills. So we'll kick off with a quote from Jane and then use that as a springboard for further discussion. So the first quote from this author is that we cannot make our grown kids happy. As long as we expect that we can, they will too. And we will both be disappointed. There's a special type of ache that comes when your children are grown, yet their choices pull them into places that you never imagined, and sometimes absolutely feared. You remember holding their small hands, promising to protect them from everything. You did your best, and yet here you are, watching from the sidelines, powerless to steer their path. Jane Addams, in this book, When Our Kids Disappoint Us, doesn't pretend that this is easy, and she meets parents in that absolutely raw place and offers gentle truths that feel both comfort and wake-up calls. So the first key message to come from this author is that you can let go without absolutely letting go. What she says here is that you can still love your children fiercely without carrying the weight of their mistakes. And she makes a very valid point that letting go doesn't actually mean, or doesn't have to actually mean, turning away. It means loosening the grip on the idea that you can save them and that you can guide them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, according to this author, is to trust them enough so that they can face their own consequences, their own first, second, and third level consequences of the choices and the decisions that they make. The author also goes on to talk about the importance of facing the gap between the dreams you have for your children and their choices. We all have an unspoken script for our children, is a message that comes from this author. A job they'd have, the person that they'd marry, and the steady happiness we thought that they would find in their lives. When reality shatters that particular script, the grief, according to this author, is very real. Adams reminds us it's okay to mourn those dreams that parents once held close to their hearts, and then slowly but slowly to see their children for who they are and not for what we wanted them to be. The author also talks about a concept here of changing the shape of love, and to understand that the reality is that parenting shifts with time. You move from guiding every step to simply walking beside them. It's quieter, sometimes lonelier, but in that space love takes on a different strength, one that doesn't demand but only offers. The author here also goes on to talk about the importance of understanding your own emotions: shock, anger, guilt, sadness, acceptance. Adams maps these stages not as a rigid path, but as a reminder that the waves you feel are absolutely normal. Knowing this actually is helpful, because this can stop you from reacting and overreacting in ways that close the door between you and your child. Another key point that comes from this book is that you can love without tying your worth to their life. And this comes across as one of the hardest truths. Your child's choices don't have to define you as a person, as a parent, and as a human. You can be a good mother or a good father and still have a grown-up child that struggles through their lives, and loving them as they are without conditions frees both of you from a prison of shame and disappointment. And the last key message to come from this book is that you can reclaim your own life, because you have to understand also that your happiness and your calling and your life also matters. your life is not over when your child continuously stumbles. Pour yourself into friendships, passions, faith, work, and anything that brings light back into your own story. When you stand strong, you give your child a living example of resilience. And the final thought to come from this thought-provoking and somewhat depressing sort of topic is that this isn't about pretending that everything is absolutely fine. It's about loving in a new way, one that honours both your child's independence and your own life at the same time. As Jane Abrahams reminds us, sometimes the bravest thing a parent can do is to love without control, to hope without demand, and keep living fully no matter where your child's road takes them. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've talked about a really difficult sort of subject. And I feel for those parents who have children who haven't found their way and continue to stumble throughout their lives, and for those parents who have to witness it and to stand on the sideline trying to cheer, trying to guide, and still seeing the issues and the problems manifest themselves in the cruelest of ways. Take care, everybody. Wishing you all the best on this most magnificent, perfect Sydney spring morning. And I look forward to coming to you again from another place and with another message of empowerment. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.